Hi, I'm Jamie Bisbano. I am a dietetic intern with Texas State University, and for the past 2 weeks, I've been at the American Botanical Council, where I've been learning so much about herbal medicine and all things horticulture. And I had the opportunity to do a lot of research on figs. So I now refer to them as the Nuturing Fig, and I think that y'all understand why when I'm done with this presentation. So I'm going to go through a little bit of the history as well as some fun facts, and my favorite part is some of the nutrient profiles. So let's get started. So the Latin name for fig is Ficus carica and is in the Myrtaceae family, and that's especially important if you would like to research it on your own. This is such a beautiful picture of figs. You can see that bright raspberry kind of color on the inside of all of the seeds. They're a very soft fruit, and they're quite delicious. Just some fun facts for you guys. Figs are actually one of the oldest known cultivated fruits. There has been a lot of mention of figs in the Bible, specifically the Old Testament, and it's believed that they were in the Garden of Eden. Figs have what is known as the syconium, and this is specific to the fig. And what this actually means is that a fig, we know it as a fruit, but is actually an inverted flower, and each of the seeds on the inside are actually individual fruits. So it's such a specific form of a fruit. It's not really that surprising that it has a specific pollination method too. So the agonoid wasp is actually specific to the syconium of the fig. And these wasps can only lay their eggs in the syconium, and these figs can only be pollinated by these wasps. And so they co-evolve together, and it's a beautiful little love story. Fig trees grow anywhere from 15 to 30 feet high, and they have quite a wide diameter with their leaves as well. And you'll find a lot of research saying that fig trees originated in the Mediterranean area, when actually there's evidence proving that they originated in Western Asia and were then brought by man in prehistoric times over to the Mediterranean area, where they still thrive today and grow wild. Now let's speak about some of the medicinal uses, because in India and China, where in India they use Ayurveda type of medicine, and then in China, traditional Chinese medicine, which both utilize a lot of foods and herbs as their medicine. And so there's a lot of evidence showing all of the medicinal uses that figs have and are being used for medicine today. Some of those uses include for constipation, for diarrhea, a lot of intestinal problems, as a laxative. The latex, which is a white milky substance that comes off of if you tear a leaf off the tree or if you pick an unripe fig, this can be used topically or has been used topically for boils and warts. But I do want to note that there's evidence that it causes irritation on your skin if your skin is in fine condition and it comes into contact. It has also been used as an antibiotic to lower or maintain blood sugar, to soothe sore throats and coughs, and even to treat certain cancers. But as research has evolved, we've actually been able to prove some of these uses, and those include antioxidant potential as an anti-inflammatory, which that's very important because inflammation is a marker for numerous disease states today. So we can combat that with food. That's awesome. Also as an antifungal agent and cancer preventative. So we're hoping that more research will come out and figs will gain traction as a superfood that it is. It's also, some of its traditional uses include food and livestock feed, as fuel, which is very interesting and pretty nifty on their part, roofing materials, tool handles, and that wide diameter of leaves is used as shade. Now let's talk about the nutrient profile, and this is something that is phenomenal. I think that y'all will be pretty impressed by these figs. So what exactly is a fig made up of? 94% of the energy in a fig comes from carbohydrates, and 69% of that is simple sugars. So this is things like fructose or your fruit sugar, but 25% is dietary fiber, which is a lot. This translates to 12 grams of fiber in a 100-gram serving of dried figs. That's 4 dried figs, and you're getting 12 grams of fiber. Why is this so notable? Because in Western diets, we're only consuming 11 grams of fiber on average. So by consuming figs on top of your normal diet, you can double the amount of fiber you're getting and get very close to the recommended amount of 25 to 30 grams of fiber per day, depending on your gender and age and things like that. And of this 25% of dietary fiber, 28% of that is soluble fiber. This is notable because what soluble fiber does is it slows the transit time of food in your gut. Not only does this help lessen the spike of blood sugar, but also it allows you to soak up more nutrients since your food is sitting in your stomach for longer. And also, figs are very notably high in calcium and iron, which I will show you more of in just a second. So in that 100 gram serving of dried figs, which again is 4 dried figs, it has 282 calories, only half a gram of fat, 130 milligrams of calcium, which is about 10.3% of the recommended daily amount, 3 milligrams of iron, 60 grams of carbohydrate, that 12 grams of fiber, and 3 grams of protein. The only thing that I really want to note here is the 60 grams of carbohydrates, because people who are either pre-diabetic or diabetic, this is going to be a carb count that you need to be very aware of, because you don't want to have a spike in your blood sugar and you want to account for it in the rest of your exchanges and things like that. Now let's talk about bioactive compounds. That sounds technical, right? So what bioactive compounds means is that, let's take rosemary for instance, because that's just my favorite. So rosemary, we smell that potent rosemary smell. It's very volatile and we love it in cooking, but also kind of just a sniff every now and then. And what these are, the smell is just one example of rosemary's natural way of fighting off predators. So as rosemary feels like it could be attacked or anything like that, it creates these compounds that are fighting off things. Like we always hear deer won't get to rosemary, and that's one of the reasons why. But with the creation of these compounds that the plants now have, we're consuming those compounds when we eat them, and those compounds go in to essentially do the same things in our bodies, fight off predators, which in our case may be diseases and things like that. So it's a very interesting field of study, and it's something that figs have a lot of. And I just talked about that. So what is the content like in figs? Well, there's a whole wealth of polyphenols, and I won't go into too much detail, but I will say that all these bioactive compounds have a lot of health benefits, and that includes antioxidants, cholesterol lowering potential, anti-inflammatory again, and can actually play a part in preventing cardiovascular disease. So these are all huge things that these figs contain that we can get just by consuming them. Now I want to talk about something that I honestly was very shocked to find out. So red wine, and the same goes for teas, they're researched so heavily, and we always hear how, oh, they have antioxidants, they're great for you, which is true, and I'm glad there's so much research on them. But figs were found to have 5 times the amount of bioactive compounds when compared to red wine. 5 times. Now that's enough to make us come out with more research to prove all the health benefits of figs, don't you think? So here's a picture that I took the other day when giving a presentation, and I just wanted to show y'all the different types of figs as well as the different arrays of bioactive compound content. So from left to right, we have an Adriatic fig, and this is just a light green fig on the outside. Then we have a tiger stripe fig, which is very beautiful. It's light green with darker green stripes. You can see the nice raspberry puree color. And then next we have the more commonly found black mission fig. And then the last one is a dried black mission fig. So you can see how much smaller and dense it gets, and it gets chewy and really yummy to eat. But the awesome thing about this is we're eating with our eyes again, because the darker the color we see, the more bioactive compounds they have, and therefore the more health benefits. So I want to chat to you guys about some research today, and I'm going to give you 3 different examples of studies that were done and show you all the beautiful benefits we found. So Belgwith, Hadrick, and colleagues found that compounds in figs were able to lower total cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, which we know commonly is bad cholesterol, triglycerides, and what's known as the atherogenic index. And this is just an indicator of cardiovascular disease. So it's great that that was lowered. and it increased HDL cholesterol, which is the good cholesterol. It also decreased lipid oxidation. And I don't want to get into too much, but basically, when you have a high lipid content, and say from a blood test, there's potential that you'd have a thing that's known as lipid peroxidation, which is that these lipids are being oxidized. That just means they're turned into something that's bad for your body. And so what figs were found to do is decrease this oxidation, and that helps make your organs have the capability to function at their highest rates. Then Wojolo and colleagues found that figs were able to inhibit enzymes in the body that are responsible for glucose metabolism, and they aided in lowering as well as maintaining blood sugar, which is very notable for diabetic individuals. And the polyphenols, or bioactive compounds, also played a role with glucose digestion. So it kind of took a hold of glucose in the blood and was like, come on, buddy, we're going to take you down to where you're going to get broken down. And so this just decreased the instances of high blood sugar by getting that glucose out of the blood quicker. And finally, Harzala and colleagues looked at the ability of these compounds in figs, ability to scavenge unstable compounds in the body and make them more stable. And this is explaining basically. And figs, the magical fruit. That's just the way I would like to end this. The more you eat, the more you very well might too. So I hope that you guys learned something today. And I want you to know that if you would like more information or a copy of this slideshow, feel free to contact me. My email is down here. It's fystx@outlook.com. I can also get you a copy of any of these references if you would like to do some research on your own or reading. And I also have a handout as well as a about 5-page simply written research paper. If anyone would be interested in doing any more reading, I'm happy to put you in the right direction. I also want to give a huge thank you to the American Botanical Council for giving me the time and the resource to be able to research figs, since they are such an amazing food component in our diets. So thank you guys so much for listening, and have a great day.